I'll read the header. The Board of Commissioners of the City of Mount Juliet will consider the following on second and final reading for July 8th at 6:15. There's 6 items. I'll read those in. The first one is annex and rezone the approval of the plan of services for Whispering Meadows, 0 Ritter Drive, map 76, parcel 21.02 from Wilson County R1 to RS30 PUD, and adopt the preliminary master development plan. The second item is the annexation, rezone, and approval of the plan of services for approximately 77.76 acres, Yorkshire Estates 1000 York Road, map 49, parcel 71 from Wilson R1 to RS40 PUD, and adopt the preliminary master development plan. The third item is to rezone approximately 11.67 acres at 1919 Mount Juliet Road, map 72P, Group A, parcel 14 from CRC to CTC PUD, and adopt the preliminary master development plan for Everett Downs mixed use. The fourth is to amend the Mount Juliet City Code, Chapter 2, Article 7, Code of Ethics, Section 2, 351, use of position and authority to remove D. The fifth item is to amend Part B of the Unified Development Code, zoning regulations, by amending Article 3, use regulations, add Section 3, 108, temporary events, use in portable buildings to include mobile food trucks regulations for residential and industrial districts. And the sixth item has 4 parts, which is the annex and approval of the plan of services of following roadway and right-of-way annexations. The first one is South Rutland Road, 2760 South Rutland Road, proceeding from the east to the intersection of Beckwith Road for approximately 2,585 linear feet. The second item is Lisa Ann Lane, 2722 Lisa Ann Lane, and the proceedings west to the Davidson County line for approximately 150 feet. The third item is Old Lebanon Dirt Road from Cedar Drive intersection to the eastern property line of 5404 Old Lebanon Road. And the fourth one is Bender's Ferry Road along the frontage of 87 Bender's Ferry from 273 Bender's Ferry Road to the north property corner of 479 Bender's Road. The public is invited to comment on any of these 6 items. I'd ask you to come forward to give your name and address for the record. If you have any other comments on any other items, I'd invite you to wait to citizen comments at our regular meeting to occur at 6:30. Yes, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Josh Lee. I'm 1801 West End with Thompson Burton Law Firm, representing the Kelsey Glen subdivision with regard to the Whispering Meadows plan that's been proposed. Right. Our client here is opposing this development. Just wanted to let you all know we're not opposed to all development here. We recognize and understand the rights of property owners to develop this property. However, we're opposing this particular plan, which, as you all may know, is substantially worse than the plan that was initially submitted last year to the Planning Commission. There are a couple of things that we'd like to address to you all this evening. One is a number of procedural issues that are before you all. One, the previous first reading required that the Planning Commission review the revised, substantially changed plan. And that did not happen. At the Planning Commission meeting, the vote was to remove the item from their agenda. So the Planning Commission has not had the opportunity, as the experts in the field, to review the substantially changed plan. And this plan is, in fact, worse than the initial plan that was submitted. It removes the western connector, and so the only access now to this 23-home proposed subdivision is through Ritter Drive, which is a residential access lane only designed for 25 homes. There's not been any traffic impact study done to address these issues, to look at what the actual impact is. Refer you back to the letter that I submitted on behalf of the Kelsey Glen HOA earlier today. There's a photograph in there that shows the actual effect of how narrow this residential access lane is. There are cars parked on both sides of the street, and it's just impossible to imagine a fire truck, an emergency vehicle trying to access 23 additional homes back behind this subdivision. This variance that's requested to increase the number of homes to be served would increase the capacity by over 150% of what is currently allowed in the Mount Juliet Code. But that's not supported by any of the variance standards that you all are supposed to consider. It's not going to outweigh the public good for this subdivision is not outweighing that harm. The base infrastructure is not there to support this. There is a substantial detrimental impact to the Kelsey Glen homeowners, which you will hear from as this public hearing continues. Additionally, the requirements for a temporary stub-out street for Ritter Drive have not been followed. There was no sign identifying it as a temporary stub-out street, and it was never identified on any of the plats as a temporary stub-out street. In fact, it doesn't meet any of the requirements to be a temporary stub-out street because as a residential access lane, those are only authorized to be a temporary stub-out street when it's part of a phased development and it's identified as a full street on that plan. That's not been done.
You've reached your 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else to address the Board of Commissioners for the public hearing? We're in a public hearing. If you wish to address any of the 6 items that were brought, then you're welcome to do so. Yes, there will be citizen comments at the regular meeting.
First of all, good evening, Commissioners. My name is Tom Gorgone. I live at 5024 Winslow Drive, Kelsey Glen, Mount Juliet. Council has presented this board a good detail document that I'm going to just say, in my experience of over 60 years in construction of custom homes and in different developments, I'm not against anybody trying to improve their property and build out. However, through my years of experience and many years in the service of municipal boards, chairing and volunteering on committees, I'm aware of the rules and regulations most cities have. I've seen requests for a variance in the developer's plans and so forth. But this plan, when I first saw it, my impression was, boy, this is really thrown together and ill-advised. Then they came back with a second plan and a third plan. So I just want to be clear. I only work with documents and facts. So I have here, and I'd like to submit to this commission for your review. I'll quickly discuss it and for your review. In these documents is the victimization that my family, our children who live next door in their home, and all our abutters, the abuse of this particular piece of land. It's unconscionable what they've done to us. In the documents, I've been basically called a liar when I proved in documentation of the results. So quickly, if I could submit to this commission, whoever takes your documents, may I? Thank you. Very quickly, when the tornado came through and devastated a lot of area, we had no problem. But our children, our grandchildren, these trees that fell on our property, we cut them up like everybody else and did the best to go through this traumatic situation. But recently, after that, we were inundated with swarms, thousands and thousands of maggot flies. I was astonished to see them. They were all over the back of our house, our windows. You couldn't open your doors. You couldn't go out and cut grass. So we bought these special containers specifically to catch flies. Every other day, we had to empty 2 containers, dig a hole and dump them. Maggot flies. Well, in my other profession, maggot flies are the decomposition of bodies.
Sir,
And I'm saying,
you've reached
what's in these woods?
you reached your 3 minutes, but you're welcome to continue at the regular meeting if you'd like. We'll have We'll have citizen comments at
My
6:30.
apologies, but I would, because the documents are very specific to what we've gone through. And I thank you for your patience.
Yes, sir.
And I look forward to it.
Thank you for having us. My name is Craig Gallman, 1921 Zach Road, also in Kelsey Glen.
Thank you.
I'd like to tell a story, if I could. About 2 months ago, my wife was buying something on Facebook Marketplace. She asked me to come with her, and it was in Willoughby Station. And as we went through the neighborhood, I noticed there's some pretty nice houses here, but I also was kind of saddened by the look of the neighborhood. And when we got to the gentleman that my wife was buying something from, I asked him, I said, how old is this neighborhood? And he told me. And I asked him, I said, do you guys have an HOA? And he said, yeah, but they're not very effective. And it kind of saddened me because there's a lot of investment, a lot of nice houses there. And their neighborhood is really not looking that good for the age of the houses. And I know one thing that we take seriously in Kelsey Glen, and our HOA and our board members and our residents take the value, the look, and the consistency of our houses very seriously. And I think with bringing in another builder like this, with possibly questionable building standards, a different HOA, which may lower it, and it's connected to our neighborhood, I would ask you, Mr. Mayor, and the board to please defend the value, the look, and the consistency of Kelsey Glen the way that we, the residents, and the HOA board does as well. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else for the public hearing? That's your choice, sir. If you want to address us now, we have a couple more minutes here, or we have the regular meeting at 6:30, which we'll do citizen comments.
Hello, my name is Trisha Farmer. I live at 8015 Ritter Drive, and it's not my first time speaking before you, but thank you for listening to me anyway. I just wanted to state a few things. Our attorney did a really great job in talking to all of the legalese, things that I don't have the expertise in, so I'm not going to go there. But I am going to say that for those of us that live on that road, we understand that progress may happen, but we would prefer to have the least number of homes as possible. And we understand that for the builder to use the sewer would allow them to eliminate a step system and all of those things that would be required if they went through the county. But to those of us who live there, we would prefer the county because it reduces the number of homes. They have, as you all know, they are located in a floodplain. They're not going to be able to put the number of homes that they would like. So we would prefer, me, someone who lives on the street, that this would be heard by the county and then let the county weigh in. I believe that it's an incorrect assumption that it's a foregone conclusion that the county will approve it no matter what. And the county still does have its preferences and rules for their approval, as well as the variance approval process that you all have. And I just wanted to remind you all, I know that you're aware of this, but financial return shall not be considered a basis for granting a variance. And I think it's important to point out that also granting a variance will not be detrimental to the public welfare. And there are only 14 homes currently on Ritter, and increasing the number of homes by double, I think some would argue would be in the detriment of the people who live there. We, again, purchased believing it was going to be a cul-de-sac. And I know I've also been told that that we were lied to by our builder, and that was not, you guys can't help that. But I have lived in Kelsey Glen. This is the second home I built. I was researched whenever I put my second down payment on for another build there. I knew the zoning requirements, and I knew that the max could be 20 homes. And so I just want to remind you all of those variances and the standards for variances. And, the last thing I'll just say is there are reasonable alternatives. We understand there was a original purchase of the property that connects to John Wright, and for whatever reason, it's not there now. But the people, when they initially purchased that property, they did have access to John Wright. And so I would ask this body to tell the purchaser of this land to do whatever fancy work they had to do to get it taken out, those 4 acres that they were deeded back to the owner. If they want to develop this property, that they should do that through John Wright and not through Ritter. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And with that, it is 6:30. We'll close the public hearing and we'll reconvene for our regular meeting. All right. And today is July the 8th, so I'll hereby call the Board of Commissioners meeting to order. We have a quorum present, which is subject to 622:10, and we'll proceed with the conducting of our business. So, ladies and gentlemen, we just want to thank you for attending tonight. And we just invite you to watch how our government does business tonight. And we thank you for your participation in that. So our first order of the business is to set the agenda. Is there any objection to the agenda as published? Hearing no objections to setting the agenda as published, we can proceed with the agenda as set. It's a 242-page packet. We have 15 items on unfinished business, 9 items under new business. So we'll proceed with that. Our next item is our invocation and pledge of allegiance. I'd ask Mr. Beasley, sir, if you would lead us to our invocation and pledge, please.
Thank you, Mayor. If y'all will stand. Lord, we thank you for our Independence Day and the ability to celebrate it. We thank you for blessing America, and we know that you'll bless it again, Lord. We thank you for our elected body. We thank you for their time, their sacrifice, and their energy spent to making our city better. Lord, just continue to bless them, and us as citizens continue to pray for them as you ask us to pray for our elected leaders. Lord, we also thank you for the citizens in this room that are connected and concerned and want to be educated with what's going on around them. We thank you for them as well. We also ask you to put a special hedge of protection over our first responders when it comes to our police and fire departments. Lord, we thank you so much for this season, the beautiful weather, and all the blessings that you have poured down on this city. It's in your holy and precious name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Beasley. Next item is the approval of the minutes. This is from the June 24th meeting. Is there a motion? I hear a motion and second. Any questions, comments, or discussion on the minutes? All in favor of the minutes, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That would be your choice, Commissioner. The minutes are passed with a vote of 5-0 on that. The next item before us is citizen comments. During this time, if you wish to address the commission, we'll ask you to do so pursuant to Chapter 2, Article 2, Section 220 of City Code, which asks for your name and address before you begin, and it limits the comment time to 3 minutes per person. So we just ask that you follow some simple rules at the beginning of the presentation. Of course, give us your name and address, address your comments through me. If I need to, we can direct somebody to hopefully answer any questions you may have, but the Board of Commissioners is not under any obligation to respond to questions. And thirdly, we just ask that you avoid any inappropriate language. So with that, I'll open the floor to citizen comments. If you would like to address the Board of Commissioners, would ask you to come forward and give your name and address.
Good evening again.
Yes, sir.
Just Josh Lee with Thompson Burton, 1801 West End, representing Kelsey Glen HOA. Just a couple of brief comments to conclude my comments for this evening. One of the things that was addressed by the Board of Commissioners at the previous meeting in considering item 11A, the Whispering Meadows subdivision, was whether or not this property could be landlocked by the vote of the board. It's our position that your vote would not be landlocking this area if you denied this particular project. Again, we're not opposing all development that's possible here, but this particular plan. As referenced by an earlier public comment, there are some reasonable alternatives requiring access through a different street, including the nearby John Wright Road or the Western Connector as was initially proposed. or finally, just limiting the number of homes to that's required to be served by the access lane according to Mount Juliet's code. And then finally, the board also expressed a number of comments regarding potential county approval. And again, the position of the Kelsey Glen Homeowners Association is we'd like to be able to address the county. And if there is a potential development that goes to the county, we'd like the opportunity to address them and to present the same arguments and to require the developer to uphold the standards that would apply in that case. So we're asking for a decision here, either to defer and allow the Planning Commission to have a full review, or simply a denial of the project based on the variances that are requested. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you to all once again. My name is Tom Gorgone. I live at 5024 Winslow Drive, Mount Juliet. To pick up where I left off, and thank you for your patience. I used the word victimization, and I sincerely mean it. We have tried desperately to work with the owners of this property, which we abut. The plans are ill-conceived. The variances are just astronomical in my mind of all the work that I've done. But to try to be a good neighbor, we try to converse with the owner. There's a lot of bad sediment. When we moved in, Jones was just starting to build the lower section. They had in plans to extend Ritter, a few more homes. They made arrangements with George Wright to buy that land and to put the additional homes to be a 25-home build-out on that street. That deal fell through, unknown to us why, but that's why it dead ended there. During the last couple of years, I started talking about these flies. We didn't know where they came from. It wasn't until the fall of that year that when the foliage on the ground died, that I was able to observe big skeletal remains. My next door neighbor said to me, Tom, there's a big skull out there. And I said, Eric, there are three. Those are bodies and skeletons of horses. Somebody brought horses into that area and put them down. There was no way a tractor or any lift equipment get in there. They were walked in there and they were put down for whatever reason. So with that, I did two things. I sent to the person who is now described as Ryan Lovelace, Clamshell Properties, a memo and a letter to him November 22nd. I gave you a copy. And in it, I explained the circumstances to the storm that came through. And the trees came down in all different directions, but they came in our yard. I provided pictures. One tree was 85 foot plus in length. It didn't knock down any structures. It didn't damage any of our fences or bushes at this time, but two trees. And in order to get them removed, with no response to them, I spent $1,800 to get the trees cut up and removed out of the property. My children said, Dad, we just can't. And I said, listen, Mom and I will take care of it. So we did. I sent that in this memo to this person, and I provided pictures. In response, on November the 9th, I was told that I was incorrect, that they were informed by their insurance company that all the foliage and trees in there were in excellent condition. And therefore, I should put in a claim to my own insurance company. So with that, I wrote back again on November the 20th. And I said, look, please, the fallen trees and the property and so forth. And I spelled it out, and it's in the document, that there is a problem. And not only that, we have skeletal remains in the woods. And in doing so, they put our families at great risk.
Sir, you're at 3 minutes, sir.
State Department of, excuse me,
I said you're at 3 minutes, sir.
3 minutes?
Yes, sir.
Can I make just a quick, just tell you what's here?
Yes, sir.
This is the agricultural. I put in a complaint to them about with the downed animals, and I got ignored. And the reference numbers are all there. And so here we are, piece of property, ill-controlled, and next tree is going to fall any high wind now. We have no relief. Thank you very much for your time and consideration.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. And we've all been given copies of the documentation you provided.
Hey, everybody. Greg Fast, 451 York Road. Little disappointed. We got run over by a train last time. That's okay. I actually like Richard. And he's working with, he's a developer back there in Yorkshire, whatever it's called, Estates. But I get the feeling he's going to do what's best for the community. I appreciate that, my brother. But here's the thing, I was disappointed. So after we took our beating, I sent emails to everybody thanking them for your service and, you know, falling on the sword. And Scott was the only one that got back. I mean, I know you guys get 5,000 email, but he got back like the next day. So, or later that morning. So anyway, I know you get lots of email, but I consider you guys friends. And so just to hear back is important to me. Okay. Just so you know. On the other thing, the most important thing for us is that you guys already turned down the idea of Bender's Ferry, Moss's thing connecting into York. And now this stub road is back. And that's a bad idea. You guys already turned it down once. The idea of having Moss dump out on York. We know that the new development is going to, you know, go through there, but this idea of connecting Mosses in and having two connects into York, that's not necessary. So I don't know why it came back. Somebody will probably explain it, but my strong opinion is that's just a bad idea. And even Richard thinks it's a terrible idea, and he's the developer of Yorkshire. So anyway, I appreciate you guys. You know that. And we will press on. Love being a part of this city. Amen.
Thank you, sir.
Don Eskew, 101 York Road. When the Moss was first proposed, was hoping to be the only access down on York Road, but since then I've learned it can't be the only access. It would require a road upgrade within Moss, and that would upset Moss's lot layouts, which that's just not going to happen. So in lieu of that, the best thing would be just have it on York Road, not have anything from Moss, not having bleed over traffic from Moss. Once folks from Nashville find big houses back there, the crooks from Nashville, they're going to come out and try to visit them and give them two ways in and a way out. So the best thing is just have the York Road only and have that traffic and not any traffic from Moss. So I think I haven't pretty much seen everybody seem to be in agreement on that. Talked with the York Road folks, with Richard a couple days ago and today, and then that seems to be the universal desire, just to have the York Road only and not have anything from connected to Moss. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. Hans Schlegel, 990 York Road. Man, I could really go crazy and say just deny it and send it back to the county, because then we'd only have 45 homes instead of 80 homes, which actually would be really cool, but then nobody would really win completely in this. So I'm with these guys. Richard and I have spoken from a York Road collective. I've sent emails to all of you and got responses from a couple of you. So I do appreciate that. But yeah, I think just to clarify, when I talked about having the access to Moss Road, it was to Moss Farms, it was no access to York, and that's why. But the development's going to happen, but we don't need to have it connected. The biggest one being just from the crime and exposure liability. We lived in a Meritage neighborhood in Hermitage. That's why we moved out here to Mount Juliet, because of all the car thefts and everything that was happening in the neighborhood, because downtown Nashville knew that, oh, this is a nice neighborhood. We should come visit. And I love that we're putting in $1.4 to $1.8 million homes. That's what Mount Juliet needs to take it to the next level. I love it. And it's going to help our home values, but it needs to just stay those 80 homes, just
just one way in, one way out there on York Road. That'll be a big win for everybody in the situation. And so that's what I'd strongly encourage you guys, just to amend it a little bit for that, and we'll all win. We'll all move forward with it, and appreciate it. Appreciate what you guys are doing. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Hey guys, I'm Richard Van Clive. I'm the owner and developer of 1000 York Road, and it's fun to go from being the most hated person in the room to a little less hated person in the room. No doubt. But I appreciate you guys and your hearts and your opinions. I know this kind of stuff is tough, and it's one of the main reasons why in the beginning I didn't want to come in swinging with the rezoning and the 200 home request and all of the things. I wanted to meet the city's wishes and at the same time dampen down the blow that you guys had to receive a few weeks ago. Because there's never a moment, there's never a time like this where somebody wants adjacent land to them voted through. It's a hard thing to do, but it's what we have to deal with. So I appreciate all of those emotions and concerns. And yes, I think for the sanctity of York Road, for them, for this subdivision that's needed in Mountain Juliet with the high-end, larger parcel homes, allowing moss to just flow right through there it'd be tough. You put yourself in those situations, everybody's going to have their own opinions on it. But from a traffic standpoint, you can make arguments. But from a sanctity standpoint too, I think when you have a subdivision of this caliber and people are just using it as a thoroughfare, it could be tough. So I'm about that. I think it's nice to have a common ground. I believe even amongst the board, you guys and myself, that I think the right thing could be done here. So I'm all about it and making this happen, and I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions or comments, or anyone else to address the Board of Commissioners? They need to come to the microphone, sir. Come to the microphone, please. Your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, Tyler Antonakis, 433 Whitley Way.
Thank you.
Just quick, we didn't know to speak here. If you get to speak after the section of new business, I was just trying to make sure of that before.
This is your only opportunity to speak.
That's why. Okay, just double checking then. Okay. Well, we're here about the Elliott's Reserve development and the impact that's going to have on our surrounding Nicholsville neighborhood. The other night we had a meeting with Ray, the developer, and a lot of concerned people in our neighborhood. And I'm in real estate, in development, all for those things, but I'm also not for overdevelopment, which is what, as of right now, it looks like it's kind of being proposed, where plans even kind of look like we were looking at the plans, and Eric Fisher sent you all emails, I'm sure, in terms of where our buffers have been actually, they don't look like we're getting our full credit for our buffer, for setbacks and everything else on these plans. So there's some concerns there where we just want to make sure all setbacks are followed, and we don't want people coming right up to the buffers with townhomes on the back lot. And that was a big concern. And I think as it's proposed now with 64 townhomes, it puts a lot of stress on the groundwater, where it's going to go, where it floods already on Montrose Avenue, Montrose Drive, that this is going to make that worse because it naturally slopes back there. There's no way to get it to go down Lebanon Road as much as they think they can, unless you change the grade to a steeper grade than it already is, which would be insanity. But that being said, the overarching things are, they want a $600,000 to $800,000 townhome being in real estate. That's very, very ambitious, as much as I would love for that to happen. We live in Eastland Homes right behind it that are going to compete with that. And we have a third of an acre. You would have not even a backyard. To get the same price would be almost impossible. And then what happens when that development goes to poop because they can't get the homes they budgeted for with 64 homes? It doesn't make a lot of sense. I think the only way to do it is to flip it, make it 44 or a little less, and allow those homes to have some more space with the backyard, and it gives you a chance to possibly get there. The commercial side of it's great. We all know that we need commercial on this side of town. And even that, when I was talking to the developers hearing what they were doing, I was like, 800 square feet units aren't the best use of commercial when it needs to be a little more functional than that. And I do property management as part of real estate for a living, commercial and residential. I get this world a lot. And I want everybody just to be aware to please follow the setbacks, to make it, don't overdevelop it. Develop it, just don't overdevelop it. There is a difference. And that's our big concern from my standpoint, because you can't stop development. Progress is what we all need. Sorry, I'm out of town, guys, but appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, sir, for your comments.
Evening. Hi, I'm Stephanie Beamer, 513 Montrose Drive. I think I sent you guys all a letter. Thank you for receiving it. I also sent you some videos, some of the drainage issues that we've had at Nicholas Vale that are coming from the proposed property for Elliott's Reserve. We're all about, like Tyler said, we're responsible development. I mean, I'm in construction and engineering, 26 years. Had the preliminary plans looked at by 6 separate engineers. Had a lot of concerns. I've reached out to Shane, reached out to John, just to talk through some of the concerns with the preliminary plans, especially the drainage with the southwest end of the development. It would be a 2-foot detention pond, and it's going to be draining into Nichols Vale. That's how it's drawn right now. In addition, the blasting, the geotechnical conditions right there have the blasting that's going to be required to be blasted. And where the townhomes are set, it's going to be within 100 feet. It's probably about closer to 50 feet of our homes on Montrose and on Whiteley. And we're concerned because there's really no recourse. We've seen no recourse on other developments with getting our properties taken care of from sustained damages from blasting. And the response of go take it up with the insurance companies is not something we want to hear as residents. We look to you guys to help us out with responsible development and making sure to hold people accountable. And it's great to see a developer working with someone there and not telling us to shut our blinds and not look at the townhomes if we don't like it. That was not taken very well at our community meeting. In addition, the traffic concerns, Windtree is not done yet. Everything's gonna be dumping on Lebanon Road. In addition to Green Hill, South Green Hill Reserve, all that's dumping out in Lebanon Road. There's no traffic plan for Lebanon Road in the next 10-year plan of TDOT's program. The widening for Mount Juliet Road is 2032. I've been in contact with Andy. I work with TDOT a lot in my job. So I had concerns about that. We already have traffic concerns there. Environmental, I know it's not a big concern to some, but there are neighbors that are very concerned about the environmental there. And we do have 69 signatures just from hand signatures and another 184 in a change.org that we sent to you guys for petition. And I printed out copies if you guys did want it, but I also sent you guys all the Xerox copies. Yes. Thank you for listening. I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you so much. Anyone else for commissioner comments? For citizen comments for the commission? As was asked, that we do not take comments on individual items. So it's your opportunity to address the board. Yes, ma'am.
Hello. Since I didn't speak yet in this one, I figured I would just say hello again. My name is Trisha Farmer at 8015 Ritter Drive. Just wanted to finish up a few of the things that I had planned to speak about. The city provided a negative, the planning commission provided a negative recommendation for this development. And I was just curious, and I don't know, can we have a back and forth discussion about like prior, if I had a question, if you all have approved a prior negative recommendation in the past? Is that something that I can do? I can't.
Yeah, they've been many approved in the past, negative recommendations.
Negative. Okay. I guess my question with that is that they were pretty firm in their negative recommendation, and Mayor, you appointed all of those people, and so I guess I don't understand why the people that you've appointed, who you trust to do the work and to make these tough decisions, why their opinion is invalidated by your vote for it. That's just one question I had. I also had another question about where a number of $7,000 or $8,000 per lot came from. The last meeting that we had, it was a surprise to most people sitting here from our neighborhood to just hear that a number could just be thrown out in the middle of a meeting, and then all of a sudden that would make it right for the homeowners. For those of us that live on the street, $8,000 will not rectify the fact that we're losing the cul-de-sac that we purchased on, and that I spent more than that for my lot premium to be down there. So that's one question is, where did that number come from? Mr. Justice, you came up with that number. Those of us that I'm not in a planning commission or on the commission, but for someone who lives there, those things concern me, that something is being approved, numbers are being thrown out, and especially whenever there's so much documentation that this project, that the zoning was there. And so I just feel like it's, those are questions that I have that I'm very concerned about, especially knowing that the developers in this town have often given money to campaigns. I understand that ethics complaints aren't, campaign contributions aren't counted towards that, but I do feel like it is in poor public opinion to accept money from developers, especially on votes that you may be taking. And so I would also just ask that whoever is going to be voting on this tonight, that I would like to hear that the people that are voting aren't accepting any money or haven't received campaign contributions from the people that are donating to their campaign, that are developers, or anyone that's associated with the development, right? The developer also includes surveyors. We know that surveyors have given money to campaigns. We know that title companies, there's a lot of hands in the pot when it comes to development. And I just want to make sure that that I try my hardest to protect my family. My son has autism, and we purchased on a cul-de-sac because of that. And that I do what I can to protect my family and our investment. So thank you again for your time, and I appreciate the negative vote.
Thank you. Anyone else to address the Board of Commissioners tonight? All right, seeing none, we will close citizen comments and move to commissioner comments and report. And with that, I'll recognize Commissioner Hefner.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, appreciate everybody coming out this evening. It really does, at least for me, it really does help me in making decisions. So very, very impactful. Thank you all again, and those tuning in online as well. First off, he's not here, Rocky Lee, but the Parks Board, Parks Department, volunteers, all the sponsors. Great 4th of July celebration. I know there's some tweaks with the parking and the access in and out that I think we're going to be looking at next year. But all in all, it was a great job by everybody that was involved. And to answer, Trish Farmer, your question, no, I have not received any contributions from the developer. So I'll answer your question. That's it.
With that, I'll recognize Commissioner Mullally. We just heard from Commissioner Hefner.
Thank you. So my newsletter went out this past week, and if you noticed, it was rather short because I was on a cruise, my first ever cruise. And if you also noticed, I wasn't at the last meeting in almost 5 years. That was the first meeting I've ever missed. So I hated to do it, but it was too good of a deal. And I've been paying on it for 1 year and 3 months. So anyway, I'm back, and then it was a great time. The weather was great. And then I get back and wake up the next morning after being home, and then I'm sick. So evidently, I hear of a lot of people that have been on cruises get sick after. But anyway, I'm better. Still have a little sinus thing going on. And just as a side note, I personally have never taken a dime from any surveyor, title company, landowner, developer, real estate person, engineer, all the above. I personally have never taken 1 cent. And it's tempting. I've been offered, but I have said no. And I'm kind of proud of that. So that's all.
I'll recognize Commissioner Justice for his comments.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I'm going to put something on here. I think our Public Information Officer, Justin Beasley, is, Justin, would you mind standing up for me? Just turn around and show the audience. And I will tell you, I'm standing up. I've got mine on as well. So we got some bling from Whataburger today. Whataburger opened up, and I will tell you, the long awaited Whataburger, and it actually turned out as great. I loved it. I had to make some notes here just to make sure, but the anticipation of the food, it was everything that everybody told me it was going to be. The staff was wonderful, and the traffic, by the way, was not an issue. So I was excited. Traffic was not an issue. A 5-lane, basically interstate going through the middle of our city was not an issue. So just letting you know, we are not Providence. We are very proud to tell you that we are in North Mount Juliet. So y'all, you people on the south, y'all enjoy yourself over there. Okay. I want to say that I want to make sure everybody and hope everybody had a very happy and very safe holiday, 4th of July. And I would say thanks to Rufus Page, to our fire and police, and a huge thanks to our parks department and all the staff at the city that allowed this to be a successful event. It happens every year. It is successful. I don't think there's ever been a year that we didn't find things that needed to be tweaked, but it's an ongoing process. And as our city grows, we're going to see things that need to be changed as we go through it. So again, thanks to everybody and everybody that showed up, and to Mr. Page. I will throw us out also. If you look at the screenshot that is up there, it says Mount Juliet, Tennessee. And I would like for you to look at the spelling of that. It is MT period Juliet, not MOUNT. Now, those of us, I've been told numerous times that, the way to tell if you're a lifer, and somebody like me has been Mount Juliet my entire life, if you're a lifer, that's how you spell Mount Juliet. For the people, for the Google group, it's going to be the other way. But our charter says MT period. It's Mount Juliet. By the way, also for those of you from New York, Chicago, and upwards, in the northern sections, it's Juliet. Now, the way we spell that is Juyet. It is not Juliet. So just thought I'd go ahead and send that out there. Greg Fast we're here, I believe. Greg is my friend. Greg, I will tell you, I went through my my emails, and the last email I got from you was June 6th of 2022, but I've got a blue zillion texts where we've texted back and forth. So if I missed something somehow or another, it went to the spam, I apologize for that. Just want to let you know. Finally, regarding the Yorkshire project, it's working out the way it should work out. And I think I may have told some of you that many, many years ago, there was a judge by the name of Bob Hamilton in Lebanon. And one of the things that he said was, if when they walked out of my courtroom that everybody's mad, I probably did my job right. Turns out that Mr. Van Clive has gotten with the residents over there, which he is a resident in that area over there. Mr. Eskew, Hans, Mr. Fast, all the rest of y'all realized what was going on. And this is an opportunity that I was looking at to actually create it's basically going to shut down. There's no way we can ever put anything else onto York Road at this point with these 80 homes. Now, with the medium density residential that it was originally zoned for, or actually the land use plan, that could have been a lot more. So Mr. Van Clive, comes in with an 80 home development as opposed to 140 home development. And it works out. Not everybody's happy. He's not happy. He probably could make a lot more money. You guys are not happy because you got cars and people you're not going to like driving up and down in front of your house. But it works out the best for the city. So, Mayor, I believe that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We'll recognize Vice Mayor Juliet.
Yep. Thank you, Mayor. And thank you for the folks that came out tonight, also the ones that are online. Thank you to the senior centers that, the senior center group and board that came out tonight for the workshop. Obviously, there's a lot of discussion there trying to figure out the growth that we have within the city for our seniors, and looking out for the next generation that's going to be coming up as well. Absolutely, there's a lot of appreciation for everything that happened over the Independence Day, from Circle P Ranch, the volunteers, the Mount Juliet Parks, everybody that was within the city, and it was just a great turnout. And you know what? With all these great venues and different events that we're having, to have a little bit of a parking issue, that just means everybody wants to come and enjoy the camaraderie and the fellowship. So to me, we all just work through it and have fun, and as long as it's safe and And the best part is that we're there to celebrate our independence with our family and friends. So to me, that was a blessing there. Want to give out a shout out to some folks in my district, Hickory Hills. This is our fourth annual fireworks show. It was a great turnout. I think we had about 350, almost 400 people there. It was a great time, and thank you to Mount Juliet Fire Department, EMS that were there because we pulled a permit, and I know that that was a little bit of a headache for some of the residents. I did get a lot of emails, so if I have not responded to all of yours, which yes, we did get called out tonight because I haven't hit everybody's, but it's just been a holiday weekend trying to piecemeal everything and all of these different concerns. We are reading through them. I promise you, I actually watched the video of the water coming down in individuals' backyard. So I am reading all the emails and may not be responding as fast as I would like to, but I will get better at that. And then most important, just a reminder as we come up, as crazy as it sounds, school's right around the corner and our kids are still swimming. They're trying to have fun. There's been a lot of, let's just say, a lot of our surrounding neighbors, counties, and so forth are bringing in a lot of, just say, trash. People are breaking the laws. People are coming into Mount Juliet, and our police department are doing a great job at protecting our citizens. But just want to, just send a reminder: if you see something, you say something. We are butted up right next to Nashville, and unfortunately, we see the reports come in, as a board from our police department of how many tickets, how many are arrests and everything. And it's just mind-boggling to see how much our first responders react to what's coming into our city. So, and it's the support of everyone that sees something. They're calling the non-emergency, or else they do call the emergency line. But either way, it's just important for us to keep that on our first 4 month, just making it there. And then also, just as we get ready for school, just keep our students as they are, like my daughter, she's going to start driving here in a couple more weeks. I see somebody out there that's a past teacher and also a good friend of mine. So he knows that, she's going to be a new driver and just trying to learn all the, like the new rules and all that good stuff. So just keep those students in your thoughts and prayers. And that's all I got, Mayor. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir, for your comments. With that, we'll get into our unfinished consent agenda. We have 10 items on the unfinished consent. I will read those for the record. 10A, an ordinance to to annex into the corporate boundaries of the city of Mount Juliet right-of-way and roadway known as South Rutland Road, being found at 2760 South Rutland Road and proceeding east to the intersection at Beckwith Road for approximately 2,585 linear feet and being located within the city's urban growth boundary. B, which is an ordinance to annex into the corporate boundaries of the city of Mount Juliet the right-of-way and roadway known as Lisa Ann Lane, being found at 2722 Lisa Ann Lane and proceeding west to the Davidson County line for approximately 150 linear feet and being located within the city's urban growth boundary. C is an ordinance to annex into the corporate boundaries of the city of Mount Juliet the portion of the roadway and the right-of-way located on Old Lebanon Dirt Road from Cedar Drive to the eastern property at 5404 Old Lebanon Dirt Road in Wilson County, Tennessee, and located within the city's urban growth boundary. D is an ordinance to annex into the city's corporate boundaries of the city of Mount Juliet a portion of the roadway and right-of-way located at Bender's Ferry Road along the frontage of 87 Bender's Ferry Road from 273 Bender's Ferry Road to the northern property corner of 479 Bender's Ferry Road in Wilson County, Tennessee, and located within the city's urban growth boundary. E, an ordinance to amend the Mount Juliet City Code, Chapter 2, Article 8, Code of Ethics, Section 351, use of position and authority, and remove D. F as an ordinance to amend Ordinance 2024-05, Part B of the Unified Development Code of the City of Mount Juliet, Tennessee, known as the Zoning Regulations, Ordinance 2001-29, adopted October 8, 2001, as amending Article 3, the uses and regulations, adding Section 3 2A, temporary events and uses of portable buildings to include mobile food truck vendors, regulations for residential and industrial districts. G is a resolution adopting a plan of services for the Benders Ferry Road and the right-of-way located at Benders Ferry along the frontage of 87 Benders Ferry Road from 273 Benders Ferry Road to the northern portion and corner of 479 Benders Ferry Road in Wilson County, Tennessee, located within the city's urban growth boundary. H is a resolution adopting the plan of services for a portion of the roadway known and associated as the right-of-way known as Leesann Lane that is located between 2722 Leesann Lane and the Wilson County boundary line of Wilson County, Tennessee. And I is a resolution adopting a plan of services for the portion of the roadway and associated right-of-way known as South Rutland Road that is located between 2760 South Rutland Road and Beckwith Road in Wilson County, Tennessee. And J is a resolution adopting a plan of services for Old Lebanon Dirt Road roadway and right-of-way located on Old Lebanon Dirt Road from Cedar Drive intersection as already within the city limits to the eastern property at 5404 Old Lebanon Road in Wilson County, Tennessee, located within the city's urban growth boundary.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor of the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing that, the consent agenda carries. We will move on to unfinished business. This is under 11. Before I read 11A, I will say both 11A and 11B, along with 13B, which is the plan of services for the property. We received a request for deferral on those. If you would, if there's no objections, I'll read all three of those. And that is 11A, an ordinance to annex into the corporate boundaries of the city of Mount Juliet, approximately 17.14 acres property known as Whispering Meadows, located at 0 Ritter Drive, map 76, parcel 21.02, and located within the city's urban growth boundary. 11B, which is an ordinance to rezone approximately 17.14 acres of property at 0 Ritter Drive, map 76, parcel 21.2, from Wilson County R1 to RS30 PUD, and to adopt a preliminary master development plan for Whispering Meadows. And then in the resolutions, we have B, a resolution adopting a plan of services for the property known as Whispering Meadows, located at 0 Ritter Drive, map 76 parcel, which is part of 2102 in Wilson County, Tennessee, located within the city's urban growth boundary. Is there a motion for these three items? Have a motion and a second. The three items are on the table. Have a motion to defer for one meeting. One meeting and a second on that. Any questions or comments on the advisement of deferral? All in favor of deferral, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? These three items are deferred until the next meeting. We'll move on to 11C, an ordinance to annex into the corporate boundaries of the city of Mount Juliet, approximately 77.76 acres, property known as Yorkshire Estates, located within 1000 York Road, map 49, parcel 71.01, and located within the city's urban growth boundary. If there's no objection, I'll read both the annexation and the PUD together. 11D, which is an ordinance to rezone approximately 77.76 acres of property at 1000 York Road, map 49, parcel 71, from Wilson County R1 to RS40 PUD, and to adopt a preliminary master development plan for Yorkshire Estates. And have a motion on that. Is there a second? Have a second on that. 11C and D are on the table. Any questions or comments? Commissioner Justice?
First of all, I would like to note that there's not a land use amendment attached to this because the developer is coming in with less density than what the land use plan actually calls for. So instead of being RS20, which medium density, he's coming in with an RS40 plan. Number one. Number two, I would also like to commend the developer for going to the folks over on York Road and working through this process. And I've talked to Mr. Eskew. I have no idea what that was. I talked to Mr. Eskew and several of the others over there on numerous occasions. So I feel comfortable that they know what they're talking about. They've been here many, many times in the past, and I've always supported them. We'll continue to. Mayor, I would like to make an amendment if I could. And Mr. Marchetti, if you could help me make sure that I've got this worded right. What I would like to do is to change the plan in that it was originally going to be attached to the stub road coming out of the Meritage Homes project. And I want that to go away. And that there would be one way in, one way out coming down York Road, not attached to the Moss Farm project. So I'm not sure how to.
Make that a condition to what is currently proposed.
Okay, so that would just make that conditional, and that's what I would be asking at this point. The residents over there have asked for that, and I would like to comply with their wishes. So that would be my amendment. I'm sorry.
Okay, we have an amendment to basically renew the connection to Moss.
Yes.
To the Moss development next
Correct.
door. And we have a proper second on that. Is there any questions or comments on this? Yep. Shane, Todd, I know I've discussed this with staff before on this, so. Yes, sir. We'd like your advice on the advisement of removing the connection to Moss.
Yeah, generally, I'm always going to be pro more connection, but with a subdivision as small as 80 units, it's not critical to have the second connection. I would advise to check in with fire to make sure their code is met, but theirs differs than Public Works slightly. Public Works stance is one connection's fine.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any other questions or comments on the amendment? Commissioner Mullally.
Not the amendment.
I just had a question.
Vice Mayor.
I'm going to go back to John that actually just got up. I just want to kind of see if we've ever done this before, because I know with other projects, it's very important for us to have proper egress coming in and out for safety. Have we ever done this in any other projects this small? There's 80
Is that a
homes?
planning question?
Well,
Excuse
What
me.
was the question?
The question was, have we ever removed a connection and had a one-way in basically for?
That's correct. Yeah. Sorry to throw
have
you
to defer
guys
to you guys.
between both of you, because I know that it's a little bit of a mix between two different agencies here, or departments, excuse me.
My experience here is shorter than most, obviously, but typically access points are kind of worked out through the process before we get here. However, the staff's original comments when they came in for first reading was based off of this plan to have one connection point. We hadn't seen the plan with two until we got here. So we're very comfortable with it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments on the amendment? I'll say this. My original conversation with staff is the more connections, the better. And I do believe that to be the case, that more connectivity is always a positive thing. I don't guess I'll make friends tonight on the amendment, but anybody else got any comments on it? If not, we're ready to vote. Commissioner Hefner.
What about emergency, I don't want to call it a crash gate, but I know we've put these in on other projects, emergency access only, access road that's gated, but used for emergency purposes.
Yeah, that's definitely a good idea. I may recommend that we hash that out at FMDP, if at all possible.
Okay. Do I need to amend? Do I
You
need to?
said they can do it at, you say preliminary or final?
Final.
Can
If it's not going to be a regular connection,
Right.
It is probably a good idea to have a second route in for emergency vehicles only.
Okay. Do I need to codify that, Mr. Marquetti, in the ordinance? Do I need a motion to have staff?
Just to be clear, I think. It would be
Okay,
better.
so my motion is to allow staff prior to FMDP to work with the developer to establish an emergency access only gate. On Moss?
Yeah, the cell towers. Yes, it's a cell tower.
Excuse, sir, you're out of order, sir. Sir.
Okay.
Yeah, there's the crash gate to Moss already.
There is a
But
crash.
you're
gate.
talking about a crash gate between Moss and the proposed Yorkshire.
Correct.
If that's like, staff can look at that, and if there is that connection, then we'll be fine.
Okay.
But give us a little time to look at a plan.
Okay.
If that's a motion, I'll second it.
Okay.
So that was a motion. You were making a motion to amend the current motion that's on the floor.
Sorry, you're correct. So
There's a motion. We were in the process of debating a motion to remove the requirement for the connectivity, for the second connectivity to the Moss. That's what I was trying to clarify with the commissioner. If he was,
yes, I could do it that way, or I can make it as a second amendment. Second amendment.
was there a second for Commissioner Hefner's amendment?
Yes.
Okay, we have a second on it. So his amendment is to amend your recommendation that at final master development plan, a crash gate be considered. Commissioner Justice.
It's been motioned to second, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So my question, we've got the developer here. If I'm not mistaken, we already have an opportunity for another crash gate that's already been established when they did the Meritage Homes project to begin with. So, I mean, what I would ask is the developer, the engineers here for that project, if we could have him speak to that maybe, because if that's the case, we don't need a second one.
Okay. If there's a second entrance into this development through a crash gate, then that satisfies my concern of having 80 houses.
Mr. Haddix is here, I think.
Yeah, my concern is a safety issue here. If that road floods on York Road and people need to get out of that subdivision, I need to know that there's another, or fire, you need to know that there's another way in there.
Good evening, Joe Haddock, CSTG. That is correct. As part of the approval of the Moss Farm, there was a secondary connection to be gated to York Road further south from our connection with this project, but there will be a second connection to York.
It's within feet of okay, yeah.
Okay. I'll withdraw my motion.
Do you
Well, I guess I could if you're gonna withdraw. I did like it.
okay? So is that
So you
good with
want
the
to-
draw?
Well, if you're gonna withdraw, I'll pull mine.
Okay, we're back on the original motion, which was to remove the requirement for the connectivity to Moss. Any questions or comments on that? I'm just going to add, I voted against the crash gate last time with Moss, and I know it wasn't popular that it be open, but I just believe that connectivity is the lack of is probably a lot of our traffic problems that we have in the city here now. But with that, I'll call for a vote on the amendment. All in favor of the amendment to remove? Oh, Commissioner Mullally.
I was just gonna say, I agree. I like the at first reading when we were talking about the connection to the Moss property up there, to this. I did like that. So I didn't know that y'all have been having conversations against it. So if that's what y'all want, then that's fine. But I really did like the crash gate up there as well, to have two. But
There's actually nothing in this ordinance that we're passing prevents them from addressing this still at final master development plan. If so,
all right, can I add it back? All right, I'll add it back.
well, let's
That-
why don't we take a vote on the existing
Okay.
amendment that we have on the table here, just for simplicity. It's to remove the connectivity to Moss Farms, your original motion.
Full access.
Commissioner Justice.
Okay. Guys, one of the things that I have preached is that we don't want to make the same mistakes in the north end of town that we made in the south end of town. We've made a lot of mistakes over in the Providence area. You guys are victims of that to a large degree because you represent that area. I personally try to avoid that place like the plague because the traffic is so horrible over there, and it's rough. It really is. And there's a lot of connectivity. It's like bees going in and out of a hive over there. One of the things that I like about the north end of town is once you cross the interstate, you can breathe. People just let a breath out. It's like, okay, I'm comfortable. I'm now on the north side of town, away from the hustle and bustle. And I'm trying to make sure that it stays that way. Adding connectivity does nothing but increase traffic. I mean, that's all it does. You're talking about a crash gate today. And I'm telling you that in 20 years, and I can tell you this because I've seen it happen on numerous occasions, in 20 years, that crash gate's going to go away and it's going to be a full-blown access. And the people that are living over there, their kids and their grandkids are going to be there. They're going to be over there watching this traffic go down, ruining what I look at as being the most beautiful part of Mount Juliet. I don't want that to happen in my district. I don't want the old Mount Juliet to go away. I like the idea that we got a developer that came in here with not 40 RS40. He came in with RS40 plus because he's asking for more than RS40 density. But what he's created gets negated by the fact that you allow for that much more access. And again, even if it's 20 years down the road, we don't plan for tomorrow or next week. We need to be planning farther down the road. And as I said, Providence, some people love it over there. They don't have their own zip code. It's still Mount Juliet. We've got to look out for what we've got on the north side of town. Let's don't make the same mistakes. I'm going to ask you not to give any more connectivity. You got a connection to a crash gate that can get to that development without adding another connection with a crash gate. So I'm just going to ask you not to do that. I'm going to vote against this, adding the connectivity. You can vote mine down if you want to. That's fine. Can't do anything about that. But I'm not going along with this other.
Okay. Reminder everyone, the motion on the table is to remove the connection to Moss Farms. I'll just say the thoughts of removing or less connectivity increases traffic is logical. If that was the case, we could just cut off some more connectivity around town, and I guess with the same logic, we would improve traffic. But with that, any other questions or comments? Are we ready to vote? All right. All in favor of removing the requirement for the connectivity to Moss Farms, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Nay. The motion carries. That's a vote of 3-2. The connectivity is taken off the table for this. So we're back on the original ordinance as once amended on 11D. Commissioner Mullally.
Okay. As I was reading through the notes, the front entry garage on Access Street was not supported. So am I safe to assume there will not be any front entry garages on Access Streets? Okay. All right. We had talked a little bit at first reading, kind of threw out an idea about the subdivision being gated. Has there been any other thoughts on that from residents or developer or the board? Just getting feedback.
I think we would need to hear from representation.
Okay.
Commissioner Mullally, Commissioner Justice.
Okay,
Like to weigh
go
in.
ahead.
Commissioner Justice. Yes, ma'am. And I appreciate your comment. And that's actually something that I had talked to the developer about at one point. I don't know where they're at in the process, but what I'm looking at is value of property. You've got access value of property. But when you start looking at the size of the lots and the proximity, and then you start looking at security, it creates more value in the property. Well, obviously, what I'm trying to do is get more value for everybody on York Road up there with this development. So, I mean, if I would ask if they can to put this in that they would gate this. And I'm going to see if they've got a problem with that.
We'll call for representation.
Hey, Richard Van Clav, 1000 York Road, owner developer. I was open. This was kind of an open-ended conversation, because I think residents in this future community would appreciate it without a doubt. Yeah, there's more cost involved, but I'm 100% fine with gating the community.
Is that gating the community with private streets?
I'm not sure of all the legality between that. If we gate it, what that falls into.
That would
I'm not
require private streets, else it would be public roadways, and I don't think you can put a gate on a public road.
So yeah, that'd be
So that
something
would
we'd have
mean your development would be responsible for the streets going forward.
they would be responsible
Yes,
financially
sir.
for all streets going
Yes,
forward.
sir.
So that's something that I'd have to. That's not something I was aware of. So once again, that's something we need to talk about.
Good evening again. If I might, I believe the gated discussion was part of when we were looking at the connection to Moss to prevent those residents from the Moss farm from circling back around into York. But I believe if the connection to Moss has been eliminated, that may serve the same function there as far as gating this community.
And it is at the end of a road, so it's less needed. I guess you could say a gated community is less needed being at the end of a road. Yeah. But I mean, that's a personal preference call. And then there's, of course, what you said, the liability of maintaining.
Well, yes, it's
public
very
streets.
expensive to put roads in developments with big lots.
Yeah, and maintaining them too.
Correct.
Yeah. So.
I apologize, but that is a question that we talked about. It was just something that we talked about, and given the logistics of all of that, being a county road going to a city road, and then
Yeah, when you really
gating it, then you got to figure out how your HOA is going to be able to afford to pay for the paving or repaving every time.
Yeah.
So,
and it's anytime you're talking about a subdivision of that caliber, as far as the price point, it's natural to think, oh, that would be nice community to gate. I mean, that's a natural thought, but with all of the ins and outs of county meeting public, the responsibilities, and it being at the end of a street that's already very private, I think it's best to leave it off.
Right. Any other questions or comments?
Mayor, if I may,
Commissioner Justice.
I got a note from Mr. Chemineur saying that if we want to propose the development be a dead end development, then we will need to. You'll need to, since the conceptual plan shows stubs to the north. So I'm assuming. Can you explain that, Shane?
The main access, as shown on the plan, is currently designed as a public collector street with a stub to the parcel to the north. There is another stub to an access lane on the west side of the site. If the parcel to the north were ever to redevelop, they would have legitimate rights to connect there immediately. This comes back to connectivity again. I tend to favor connectivity, but if the intent is to have this be the final terminus of York Road, those stubs need to be removed.
Is that on the other project or on this project?
That is this project.
This project.
I believe it's Road A, and I'm not sure what the western connection is labeled, but they abut right up to the northern parcel line. Yes.
Okay. Vice Mayor's showing me the paperwork here showing Road A. No, we're talking about Ritter Drive. That's a different one. I'm sorry. We got a bunch of stuff coming in. Okay. So what is your suggestion then?
Well, either those stubs remain in place to allow for future connectivity should that parcel redevelop, or you would amend the plan to remove those stubs now, which would effectively make York Road a dead end past the Yorkshire development.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. So we're pulling it up to look at it now. Do we have is there a map of that? Anybody's got that we can look at it? Right.
We're just trying to find it in the agenda, find out, like further down, if we know what page it's on.
Would that also take away the access from this location to Liberty Chapel? So in other words, it would not be a temporary dead-end street. It would actually be a cul-de-sac. It's what we're saying.
Yes, it would be a permanent dead-end street if you remove those stubs. If you don't, you might in the future get a connection to Liberty Chapel.
If you could give us just a minute.
It's also worth pointing out there are no existing plans for that route. This is just long-term planning.
The reason I ask you that question, York Road, and Mr. Eskew's here, he can probably enlighten me. Did it not used to go all the way over to Liberty Chapel? That's well, I mean, there's actually a right of way that goes through there now. It's an abandoned county right of way. Okay, Vice Mayor's actually gone through looking. We don't have that map, so we don't have anything to reference that.
Let me ask you this. I believe the property north of here is in the city's urban growth boundary.
Is in what?
Is in the city's urban growth boundary.
It is.
So it's to be assumed that that's going to develop.
If you talk to the doctor over there,
Well, I just said assumed, but to be assumed that it would develop someday. And if that did develop and we close these stubs off, that's going to definitely provide a longer path to get to them, which could have an impact on our emergency services. So I think we have to consider that as well for their access through here.
My response to that would be that there's not going to be any fast way to go down Liberty Chapel and come in the backside to get to anything over there. And you're going down York Road does not create anything faster. It's just not. I mean, if you try to go down York Road very fast, you'll be in Great Fast's driveway.
I'm not talking about fast. I'm talking about the potential.
You're talking about first responders. That's how they drive.
I'm talking about the potential of roads being blocked in the future. We saw this through tornadoes and windstorms and other things. So
I think I'm going to ask that and I would make a motion at this point to amend and do what our traffic engineer is suggesting, and that is that we close that and create full dead-end streets as opposed to temporary, what do they call them, Shane? Yeah, temporary dead-end street. It would be creating cul-de-sacs on there. Again, creating value, I think. And it stops people from going down York Road 20 years from now to get over to Liberty Chapel, as I talked about earlier.
That's your recommendation, that we close the connectivity and create cul-de-sacs?
No, sir. I would recommend you keep them in there. I always want more connectivity. That's the sound traffic engineering stance. However, that is not my decision. And then if the elected body decides that it's in the best interest of the neighborhood, then that would be the motion.
So what we're doing is what we were trying to avoid doing originally with the original ordinance, which is created, thank you, Vice Mayor, to create, that would eventually, 20 years from now, create additional traffic down York Road going through a subdivision.
Connectivity doesn't create traffic, it redistributes traffic. So while the traffic on York Road might go up, it'd be going down somewhere else. But in the overall area, it remains a net zero. What that amendment would be on what the elected body thinks is in the best interest of that neighborhood. If you remove the stub roads, the traffic engineering stance is always going to be more connectivity.
Once again, if we do that, we're not looking 20 years down the road again. If you want to preserve the value of the property over there, we give them an opportunity to cul-de-sac that and create value. That's what we're trying to do. We don't need connectivity on every street that we've got. It's just not. I mean, you're an engineer. That is your goal, is to create that smoother, finer. That's what you're supposed to do. I get that. It's our job to look at the quality of life. More traffic never creates a good quality of life. Never. As obvious if you go south of Mount Juliet.
Commissioner, do you have did you making a motion?
Yes, sir, I was. I would like to turn those into permanent cul-de-sacs.
Okay, so the two stub outs on the north side of the development will be.
Yeah, I
You making
don't have that map in
cul-de-sacs?
front of me, but and myself and the vice mayor were looking, but we couldn't find it online. So.
So
You got Yorkshire?
Yeah, I have Yorkshire.
Well, that's what we were looking for. Thank you. He's got it.
It was on the bottom of the stack. Sorry.
Yeah.
So there's two. One is on phase one is on phase two. There's two stub outs that are going to the north. We've already killed the access to Moss Farms, so the remaining two, is that the motion?
Yeah, I would just ask that we go ahead and cul-de-sac these.
Mr. Haddix?
Liberty Chapel Road's right here. And then Bender Street's right here. So they've got plenty of access. Actually, and there's other property over here that can.
I assume you're going to have to do some lot shifting to meet the city's cul-de-sac requirements.
Yes, there will be some essentially, yes, we will. Essentially, now the whole development is in.
Do you need additional time to consider it, or are you good to proceed forward tonight?
We're here at the will of this body.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments? Who was the second on that? To two cul-de-sacs?
I'll second.
Got a second on it. All right. Any questions or comments on requiring the two northern accesses, the one in phase one and phase two, to be cul-de-saced? Mr. Hefner.
So adding additional neighborhoods with connectivity and stub outs, that's going to force them to come down York Road, I think is just adding to an existing problem, making it worse, in my opinion. I'm in favor of dead ending this and eliminating and putting the cul-de-sacs in to drive more connectivity to other areas outside of York Road. So I've been thinking a lot about this. So I think that's what's going to be in the best interest of the residents on York Road, this new subdivision, and potentially future subdivisions that come to the north of that. So I'm gonna vote in favor of dead ending putting the cul-de-sacs in. So,
All right. All right. Any questions or comments on the amendment? All right. All in favor of the two stub outs being converted to cul-de-sacs, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. That carries by a vote of 3-2. Those will be cul-de-saced off. Any other questions or comments on this before we vote? Commissioner Mullally.
Just one confirmation. The driveways at 22 feet are measured from the back of let's see, the back of the driveway. I don't sound right. No, that'd be sidewalk. The back of the sidewalk, or is that from the street? In order not to block the sidewalk. Oh, John.
Sir.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
You're good now? Okay.
Yeah, back of the sidewalk.
Yes, yes. I don't know if that's the right of way line. It's 22 feet. I guess ultimately it would have to be whatever it would be measured to the right of way line. It would depend on where the sidewalk is. Does that check out? Yeah. But it's got to be 22 feet to their, because their property stops at the right of way.
Okay.
So there
Yeah,
has
because
to be
I just
22
don't want cars overhanging the sidewalks.
Well, depending on where the sidewalk's at, you might not get that 22 feet. But sidewalks typically in the right of way, right? So.
Well, the reason I'm asking, there was another development, maybe it's LX
yeah.
Reserve. I can't remember what it specifically said from the back of the sidewalk. That's the
Okay.
reason I'm asking about this one.
All right. Well, I've always it should be from the right of way. The measurement is from the right of way. So that back of the sidewalk may be correct if the sidewalk's in the right of way.
Okay. That was all.
All right. Commissioner Justice.
Something else that was brought to my attention by the Parks Department when we were having conversations about, and I have not looked at this to verify, in other subdivisions where we've got yard goes up, then you got a sidewalk, and then you've got grass on the other side of the sidewalk between the curb and gutter and the sidewalk. And I've been told that kind of creates some issues. And I have seen some other places where it does create those issues. Do we know how that's being addressed in this particular development? Anybody tell me?
Yes, sir.
Do you mind repeating that question one more time, please?
Talking about the right of way, you have curb and gutter, then grass, then the sidewalk, and then the front yard of the homes. And what I've been told by others within the city, parks being one of them, is that creates an issue at times where you've got now the parks responsible for the right of way cutting if the people in the neighborhood or the HOA doesn't do it. So is there a way of addressing that?
I'm sure that there's not a policy addressing that currently.
So is that something that we can ask that the HOA be responsible for all of that? Or is that necessary? Somebody can tell me how that works?
It's a good question. I've practically never have had a resident ever ask me that.
Like I said, it was brought up to me as being an issue. It's kind of like the issue of the Belinda City Parkway center medians that we wound up having to, we're responsible for cutting those. The grassy medians that everybody likes to see, it creates an issue for our parks and our public works department.
But yeah, the grass strip is currently in the right of way as part of the roadway section.
Sorry?
The grass strip is currently a part of the roadway right of way, the roadway cross section. That grass strip is so it's technically within the right of way.
Okay. Is there anything in the covenants and restrictions I'm assuming that it's the covenants and restrictions on the HOA that they would be responsible for that?
I wanted to say that we usually not usually always on a plat. So there is a restriction on a plat. There'll be a note that says open space that's outside of the right of way is to be maintained by the HOA. So if it's in the right of way, it's implied that the city would maintain it. It's how I've always taken it.
Which is, I think, kind of where we're going with this. It's created some issues in the past. So I was just wondering if we could fix that somehow.
If I'm not mistaken, you could probably put that codify that now.
Okay, Mayor, before we vote on that, I would like to add that as an amendment, if we could, please.
And what would be the amendment, sir?
The amendment would be that the HOA it would add in their covenants and restrictions that they would be responsible for the mowing and maintenance of the grass strip in the city's right of way within the subdivision, confines of the subdivision.
You're talking about the piece between the sidewalk and the curb.
Yes, sir.
All right. Is there a second on that? We have a second. So,
Commissioner
Hacker. Any questions or comments on the advisement of this? Mr. Mullally.
Like, for example, in Belinda City, the property owner mows that. of course, we don't have an HOA, but wouldn't that kind of be the property owner's responsibility to mow rather than the HOA?
And if the property owner takes care of it, then the HOA doesn't have to. But I don't want us having to go out to 3 or 4 individual lots to take care of the grass cutting out there
Yeah, no.
when it's the HOA's responsibility. So I'm trying to place it on the HOA. And, I think that's the way it's going to fall. The HOA is going to maintain it, and we'll make sure that the homeowner does what they're supposed to do. Take some of the responsibility off the city and the taxpayers to pay for that.
Okay.
Question for our city attorney is, what any advisement on requiring an HOA to maintain stuff in the public right of way?
Usually the property owner is responsible for sidewalks and that maintenance in front of their property, whether it's ice, snow, sleet, all that. So if there's litigation, the city will get sued and the property owner will be sued. So I think requiring the HOA to do it makes sense to me.
Okay.
Then they would enforce it against the individual owners.
All right. Thank you. Any other questions or comments on this? We had all right, all in favor of, and I wrote it down here, requiring the HOA to be basically responsible for the grass maintenance between the curb and the sidewalk in the development? Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The amendment was to require the HOA to be responsible through their covenants and restrictions, the grass between the sidewalk and the curb. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries. We're on the ordinance as 3 times amended. I'm going to suggest a variance for this development for maximum cul-de-sac length, since it's now been turned into one ginormous cul-de-sac, mega sac, I guess. So I don't know if John or Shane, I may need some help on the correct wording for that.
I'll try. See what we can do here. I'm typically good at that. Oh, I thought you were gonna run it by me.
No,
okay.
I'm at your mercy.
Why didn't you? I thought you said what you said was pretty good. That the HOA maintained. I don't know what the terminology for that grass strip is. A tree lawn, devil
sir,
strip.
I'm asking about the maximum cul-de-sac length.
Oh, it's 700 feet.
Yes, they're going to need a variance now, I believe.
Maybe I was the wrong person. Twice tonight.
Todd, correct me on this. The way the code reads is that 99 houses well,
Ms. Hamlin.
So for the cul-de-sac length, it's 14 lots or 700 feet, like John had indicated in our subregs. And then we also have the 99 lot rule with which they don't meet, right? Because they have 80 lots. So we really just need to focus on that 700 feet or 14 lots.
Okay. So do we just need to waive the 700 feet requirement? Is that what we're going for?
Just
All right.
a motion to grant a variance to the maximum cul-de-sac length.
All right, then that'll be my motion, to grant a variance for the maximum cul-de-sac length. We have a second on that. Any questions or comments on this? All right. All right, all in favor of granting a variance for the maximum cul-de-sac length, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Nay. But that passes with a vote of 4-1. I did make the motion because it would have been illegal, so. I don't have to always like it, but I do support the rule of law. All right. Any other questions or comments on the on the ordinance of the PMDB. Well, we got the annexation of the PMDB as 4 times amended. Vice Mayor.
Yes, so last meeting, there was a discussion about the blind curve. I know that was a concern. Did the developer or any representation have any discussion about that? I mean, was there any concerns that you guys had, or was there any?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. The reason that there was no discussion about it is because that portion of the roadway does not belong to the city of Mount Juliet.
Okay. And then, okay, while you're standing here, okay, so again, I'm just going to kind of throw this out there. Just because of my notes, the firing range, these people are going to be aware that there's a firing range. They cannot be coming back and trying to go after the city because they didn't know about it. So it's going to be disclosed to the homeowners.
It's in the ordinance.
All right, that's perfect. And then let's see here. Yep, that's all I got. Sorry, just want to make sure I went down my notes and checked the box. Thank you.
All right. All in favor of the annexation and the preliminary master development plan PUD as 4 times amended, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Nay. That passes with a vote of 3-2 for the annexation and the PUD. The next item on our agenda is 11E, an ordinance to rezone approximately 11.67 acres of property at 1919 North Mount Juliet Road, map 72P, Group A, parcel 14 from CRC to CTC to CTC PUD, and adopt a preliminary master development plan for Everett Downs mixed use. Have a motion? And a second. 11E is on the table here. I'll start off with this under our ordinance. We have underneath engineering, we have number 18, a traffic signal design plan will be required with a construction plan. I'd like to change that to say that the traffic signal will be constructed by the developer as part of the commercial phase, or at least proceeding by the end of the commercial phase. Have a second on that. Any questions or comments? Are you coming to the table to give us wisdom?
Yeah, that note wasn't for the construction of the signal. It was for the plan set for the signal for our staff to approve. So I would recommend keeping that note and then adding the CO as a separate note.
Okay, we can do that as insert number 22, which will require the construction of the traffic signal. And I think you were the second. Any objections? No. All right. Any questions or comments on this? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That is once amended. I'd also like to say a $7,500 voluntary contribution for each of the units and credit for the traffic signal from that. Motion second. Got it. You motioned in my amendment. I like that.
Sorry.
And I don't know if that will cover, I think that will cover the traffic light actually in excess. I'd also like to see credit for striping and the remaining balance go to any public works projects within the vicinity of the project. Yeah.
So as long as they get credit for everything.
Yeah. Anything above that would go to projects within the area. If it's impacted by the project, yes. Yes, ma'am.
What about lighting right there? Is that included in the plan? Lighting with the traffic signal?
I'll have to defer to planning on that one. I don't think there was.
I can actually speak.
Oh, can you? Okay.
Because that signal is going to include pedestrian accommodations, lighting will be required per TDOT standards, but we don't have the signal plans yet. So I can't speak to what the lighting is going to look like, but it will be required.
Can you address that in the FMDP?
That'll be addressed during the signal plans at the construction drawings.
Excellent.
Okay.
All right, let's hear. Yes, Shane. I just clarification. So since Public Works will be collecting the fees and everything, is there a timeline where you want to establish the estimates of the pricing, et cetera? Or am I overthinking that from your end?
The pricing of the light.
The signal, yes, sir.
What would you recommend?
At the time the signal plans come in.
And that's what you want to, and so you're basically asking, that's what you would lock in the price
Correct.
at?
If the developer's fine with that, just
let's get representation up here and just make sure we're all singing from the same hymnal.
Sorry, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Repeating your question.
Actually, it was Shane's question.
Oh,
so.
sorry, Shane. Yeah, I can answer that. Yeah. So we knew the signal was going to come up, obviously. Started looking at some preliminary design in some past signals we've done. Right, three-headed signal on a state route such as that. We're budgeting around $750,000, especially with some of the communications upgrades, talking to the other signals in town.
Yes.
We've also added in approximately about $30,000. There's been some restriping that's been requested up at Division and Mount Juliet Road. So that leaves you about at the $7,500 contribution, it leaves you just under or right at $97,500, which would be left out of the voluntary that would not be spent on those two items. So that's about $833 a unit.
Okay. Shane, does that cover your concerns?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. The FMDP will, if that's okay with the board, will establish the price then.
Perfect. Okay. Any other questions or comments on the motion? I'll repeat the motion. The motion was a credit for actually a $7,500 contribution per residential unit with credit considered for the light and the striping, with the remaining balance to be applied for public works projects within the vicinity of the project. And all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That carries. We're back on the ordinance as twice amended. Any other questions or comments on this? Vice Mayor.
So that 7,500 was for, you said for residential, but what was that, also for any commercial?
No, that's per residential unit.
Okay. Because I know that, that there was a discussion, I believe, from the previous meeting, there was something for a contribution for the commercial side as well.
I don't recall that.
Okay. Yeah, that's why I wasn't for sure. I know it was discussed last meeting. I just had it in my notes, so I didn't know. Okay, never mind.
All right, we're back on the ordinance as twice amended. Any questions or comments? All in favor of the ordinance, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries. This one passes. So congratulations. We look forward to, or I look forward to seeing this project. And I know a lot of hard work's going into it. So thank you very much. We'll move on to new business. The first item is an ordinance to rezone 0.48 acres of property at 2190 North Mount Juliet Road, map 721, Group C, Parcel 11, from CTC to CNS PUD, and adopt the preliminary master development plan for 2190 North Mount Juliet Road convenience store.
Motion.
Have a motion? I have a second on that. All right. The item is on the table. Any questions or comments on this? Commissioner Mullally.
If pumps are not permitted in CTC and it's current zoned as CTC, are the pumps currently functional?
Sir, yes, sir.
I believe they are. It's illegally non-conforming use right now. So if they want to, they're asking for the rezone so that the pumps will now be because they're going to redevelop it.
Mhm.
So it has to comply fully with the regs. So they have to get the CNS zoning for that, for the pumps.
But they're asking for an additional.
I think they removed it. It's two. They got
They
they
did
got two or
remove the
three out
third
there
one?
now, and I think it had
Oh.
the plans had two on it. The
Three?
last four now. There was two on the last one I saw.
They're asking for an additional one.
There's four there now, so there's
No, there's two there now. They're asking for three.
There's two now.
Sir, name and address for the record.
Scott Hunter at 1613 Shady Circle in Lebanon. There's two now doing the ethanol free and then the premiums. And then there's a kerosene and there's a diesel pump. There's two pumps on the side too. So there's four. And we're asking for three.
I thought I read that y'all weren't asking for the kerosene.
We're not. We're not going to carry that anymore. No,
Kerosene.
I think ethanol free will serve the customers, and that's what they need the most here for boats and mowers and stuff, weed eaters.
Okay, in the plan, it talked about a landscaping island, and I don't have the plan, so I don't even know. I'm trying to visualize it in my head. Where exactly is that landscaping island that you're talking about?
so that comment came out of, it's such a tight site with the development on it. It was this is a rezone right now, so we're not really looking at the landscaping for code compliance yet because this is conceptual. But that comment came out of, if they develop it the way it's shown on those plans, we don't think like it doesn't look like they could meet the landscaping code. You know, should the rezone get approved and they go ahead and do this and end up submitting a site plan, the street yard is what they're going to have some trouble meeting, is from what I've heard from their engineer. So, you know, it's for that reason. It's maybe in lieu of putting it along the road, maybe put it somewhere else on site, somehow meet the landscaping requirement, but maybe not right there. It's a tough site. And the landscaping installation is going to be tough.
Okay, and I was confused on the drive aisle where it talked about connecting to 108 West Division.
Okay, so I believe 108 West Division is behind. The issue with that is the access to that lot is currently it's via between the railroad tracks and this site. That's how they get back there. And if that was to be blocked off, or the railroad said, we don't want you using our right of way anymore, then their access behind there is compromised.
Okay, so why does it reference West Division?
Is that the address of that lot behind there?
108
Possible.
West Division?
Yeah.
Does it have an easement to West
It doesn't have
Division?
frontage on Mount Juliet Road, so makes sense because it's behind the. I don't know if it touches. I don't have a map in front of me, but I believe it's that body shop back there is that address.
All right, so is there an easement at all that connects to West Division?
No.
No?
I've gone back there once or twice, and the way you go in is you go in by the railroad tracks and then you loop around the gas station, come out the other side of the gas station, the south side of the gas station.
Okay. Yeah, I was confused on that.
That's all I saw.
All right, and then the parking is currently at 15 and the requirement is 24.
Yes.
Okay.
So and they can't use the pump spaces to count towards parking.
They can or cannot? Cannot. Okay. So what's the remedy on that?
The waiver they're asking for, which there is no remedy. They're short those spaces. I don't know where they'd put them. There's no room.
Yeah.
The remedy for that is that, I don't know, you could reduce the number of parking spaces required by reducing the size of the building, maybe, or relief from the code requirement, because there's just no room.
Yeah.
That's been one of that and the use of the railroad right away to the north. The way it's laid out, that's going to be part of their access. They need that. And we don't know, there's no, not that I'm aware of that they've ever gotten permission to do that. And that's not something that I wouldn't feel comfortable.
Have you looked at or considered reducing the size of the store?
We have, and one of the main goals was the walkability of Mount Juliet. That's always been a theme, and we all know that if a gas station is full, just go down to the next one. That's the way we looked at it. It is a very, very tight site, and we know that. But what this owner wants to offer is pretty nice. It's not just gas and cigarettes and beer. It's food. It's walkability. It's yogurt, taking your kids and walking around. We have to have businesses that do that, and he's wanting to do that.
Yeah.
But parking is an issue, and we've gone up and down with the railroad track people, and it's been tough. So I just need to add that this is a 7-year project. We've been working on this, Jennifer and all of us, for about 7 years.
Anything else, Commissioner Mullally? All right, Commissioner Justice.
This is actually either next door or it is the last piece of property in my district that ends on that side of the road. I'm not sure. Have to look at it a little closer, but I will say I've not seen anything on this prior to tonight or to getting it in this packet. So I don't know what all has taken place over a period of time to get to this point. I'm very familiar with the right of way, that the railroad possesses and holds so dear. Bless their hearts. And I know that they make things difficult. I got a little bit of a problem with, we've got Mr. Seller's property that we redeveloped over there, and there were some inherent traffic issues that we had at that location. I don't see this plan making those traffic issues any better. And so I think there's got to be some more work done on this before we vote on it. And I don't want to vote it down because I want the project to go through because it will enhance that area. And I think that we probably need to get the engineers in the same room, sit down and talk to them, walk through this to get this done, because what I'm seeing here is not something that I'm comfortable with right now. So what I'd like to do is defer this one meeting.
All right, there's a motion to defer one meeting. It's properly seconded. So you want to defer first reading on this?
Yes, sir, please.
Okay. Any questions or comments on the advisement of deferral? All right, all in favor of deferral for one meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 12A is deferred for one meeting to be reconsidered at our next meeting. B is an ordinance amend the land use plan and plan of the city of Mount Juliet. Is there a motion? I'll make the motion. Is there a second? Any questions or comments? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? B is adopted. Is there any objection to hearing C and D together?
Hearing what?
Hearing none. And C, which is an ordinance to amend the land use plan for the property known as Elliott's Reserve located at 12440 and 12582 Lebanon Road, map 53, parcel 101.10 and 102 from thoroughfare commercial to mixed use, and D, an ordinance to rezone approximately 22.64 acres of property at 12440 and 12582 Lebanon Road, map 53, parcel 101.1 and 102 from CG to CRC and CMU PUD, and adopt a preliminary master development plan for Elliott's Reserve.
Motion.
Have a motion and a second. The two items are on the table.
Motion to defer one meeting.
We have a motion to defer one meeting. Is there a second? Have a second on that. We're on the advisement of deferral.
If I may, Mayor, to explain to
Commissioner Justice.
We had a community meeting out there, and when we had the community meeting, we were under the impression it was going to be July the 22nd that it would be on the agenda. And so the residents that came to that meeting were advised it was going to be on the 22nd. Now, we found out later, I think I talked to Eric and Tyler and them, that it was going to be on this meeting, but so that everybody gets the right message, then I was wanting to go ahead and defer it to the 22nd. The I will tell you, the developer, Mr. Forkums, actually went and called and requested the deferral as well. So he didn't want to, he wanted to make sure nobody was misled intentionally. So.
Yeah, there's an email here doing the same request. So, all right. Any questions or comments on the advisement of deferral? All in favor of deferral for one meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So items C and D are both deferred for one meeting. The next item is E, an ordinance to rezone the property known as the Smiley property located at 815 John Wright Road, map 76, parcel 59, from RS40 to RS30. Have a motion? And second, any questions or comments? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes by a vote of 5-0. On our resolutions, we're under A, which is a resolution to adopt the plan of services for the property known as Yorkshire Estates property located at 1000 York Road, map 49, parcel 71.01 in Wilson County, Tennessee, located within the city's urban growth boundary. Have a motion? Then we have a second there. Any questions or comments on the plan of services? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries. B has already been deferred. C is a resolution approving the extension of the due diligence period up to and including August 14, 2024 for the sales agreement for the city of Mount Juliet to sell approximately 29.7 acres of land identified as map 54, parcel 8204 Thomason property located within the city of Mount Juliet, Wilson, Tennessee, and authorize the city manager to sign the agreement for the approved by March 25th, 2024 by resolution 2024.
Motion. Second.
Motion and second. Any questions or comments on C? Mr. Mullally.
Is this basically just extending to give the purchaser the opportunity to go out and survey the land? Is this the purpose of extending it?
Let's get Commissioner Justice. You were sponsor.
Yes, sir. That was what it was explained to me, that they needed an opportunity to go out and they needed to go through the planning commission and go through here to get their approvals before they were able to close on the property, and I mean, which is standard under a due diligence agreement. So, in this case, the date that they're going to close is not going to change.
Okay.
That part doesn't change at all.
On page 211, the section 1, it lists $891,000. This should be 1 million. Should it not?
Say it again. I'm sorry.
Okay, on page 211, section 1, the purchase price is listed, or the sale price is listed as 891,000. Should this not be 1 million?
I thought that was an amendment that we passed. Was it not?
I recall that being an amendment as well.
It's in the sales contract as 1 million, but on the resolution, it's listed as 891,000.
That would be a Mr. Marchetti question, because I was actually the one who made the.
Yeah.
Let me look, because we were bouncing back and forth on that today.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to pass a resolution saying we were paying it, selling it for a lower cost.
Right.
It's the $109,000 question.
It's a good catch.
Is this the Lineberry?
No,
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 sir.
this is Toll Brothers.
Tomlinson property.
Well, you got some hard questions.
I'm trying to
Sorry.
find something on it.
Is it found on page 215?
The
The
agreement.
thing I had was for the extension.
Page 214 says right
Do you have the original contract or the amended?
Let's see what this says.
Do we
The
have- do we
sales
have-
contract, I didn't print a copy of the sales contract, but it does say 1 million in the sales contract.
I thought, like I said, that was my amendment to take it from
Right.
891 to 1
It
million.
was, but the resolution,
I think, wouldn't that be, Ms. Marquetti, would it be appropriate just to amend the resolution to make it 1 million?
okay, I motion on page 211 to amend the resolution under section 1 to say 1 million.
Motion and second. Any questions or comments on the change from 891,000 to 1 million? All right, all in favor of the change to $1 million, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's catch. We're back on the resolution as once amended.
Okay, also page 213, just a confirmation. So this is extending from August to October 14th. Is that correct? Because that's the date on page
I don't have the dates in
213.
front of me, but I believe that is correct.
Yeah.
Is that right?
I think the resolution
only
says
60 days.
August.
Right. So
It's 90 days. They wanted, it was the $50,000 that would go hard. And they said they need more inspection time, so they wanted to extend it to October 15th.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the old resolution, it is $1 million. So that's not changing. I don't know whether 981 or whatever.
891, okay.
okay, because on page 211, it does say August 14th.
The resolution says August, and number 3 under the due diligent grace period says October.
It's supposed to be October.
All right. Do I need to make a motion to, okay. Motion on page 211 to change the resolution under the fourth whereas instead of October 14th, 2024 to say October 14th,
And
2000.
section 1.
And also section 1. It's also listed there as well.
Good with that? Yep. All right, we got a motion and we're properly seconded under the final whereas to change from August to October, and the same under section 1 to change August to October. Any questions or comments? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Now we're back on the resolution as twice amended. All right, all in favor of the resolution as twice amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries. So final item on the agenda is under D, a resolution to approve 3 purchases, sales agreement for the properties located at 50 East Caldwell, map parcel 772 IA 17 from Caldwell LLC for 1.45 million, 46 and 48 East Caldwell, mount parcel 7. It's at 721A 19, 721A 18 from Caldwell Land Trust dated June 20th, 2021. D. Mark Library trustee for $850,000 and 2397 North Mount Juliet Road, map 721A 200 from the Shady Grove Road Trust dated September 3rd, 2021. Mark Library trustee for $1.7 million and to authorize the city manager to sign the 3 agreements and close on the properties located at North Mount Juliet Road, Wilson County, Tennessee. Is there a motion? Have a motion? Is there a second on this?
Second.
I have a second. Are any questions or comments on this? Commissioner Mullally.
On page 241, under the resolution, under the now therefore, the first bullet under there, it says the City of Mount Juliet Board. And then the third bullet under that bullet says $1,700 on the land located at 2397 North Mount Juliet Road. I don't know about y'all, but that sounds like a great deal.
You are correct.
So
Well, unfortunately, it's under whereases, so
Yeah.
the now therefore.
So do I need to motion to have that corrected under the
Well,
resolution?
I would say correct the real meat of the problem under the now therefore under the third bullet point as well. Because it's listed as 1,700 is under that.
Yeah, right there,
Yeah.
under the first bullet, the third bullet under the first bullet.
So that your motion changed the two references to 1,700 to 1.7 million.
Yes.
I'll second it because it's going to get really complicated if we don't. All right, any questions or comments on this? All in favor of the change, the replacement of 1,700 with 1.7 million, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're back on the resolution as once amended. Mr. Hefner?
Yeah, just a comment. I think I saw the appraisal come in. It was part of the budget packet. And please correct me if I'm wrong. Was it not $4.7 million?
That's what I remember.
Okay.
And
So
we're getting an affirmative from our attorney as well.
So we're walking, city's walking. Normally I would question this, but I mean, we're walking into $700,000 and right off the bat in equity on this property. So plus it allows us to control or participate and cooperate with future developers at what actually gets built around City Hall. So, but the fact that we're walking in $700,000 in equity on day one, I think is a really good decision. Good thing for the citizens. So I'm good. Thank you.
All right, any questions or comments? Well, all in favor of the resolution as once amended, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Number D is adopted. With that, we've reached the conclusion of our agenda. Without objection, we are adjourned.